Frontier has just added the long-awaited multi-purpose limpet controllers into Elite Dangerous. Unfortunately, they have been designed in a way that makes them almost useless. I'm gonna tell you why. Guys, I have something exciting to share with you guys. Today's video is brought to you by me and the Down to Earth store. So head over to store.d2a.com, check out the cool products. Not only are there new designs, but also new products like caps, beanies, jackets, which is something you guys have been asking for. You'll find the link in the video description. But for now, let's get back to the video. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Elite Dangerous. So we got these brand new Multi-Limpet controllers, and we got a number of them. We're going to talk about them today. I'm going to show you why I think that the way they've been designed is so mind-numbingly stupid that nobody who actually plays the game would go and design it in this way. Sorry, this video is going to be a bit ranty. I don't usually do rant videos, but this is just so dumb that I kind of have to do something about it. Let's go and take a look at these. And the first problems actually arise as soon as we find them in here, Multi-Limpet controllers. We can see we have a number of different controllers. A big number of them are size 3, where we have them in different flavors. We have mining, we have rescue, operations, Xeno, and then we have the size 7, also comes in 2 variants. That's called the universal ones. Now, if you're a new player and you're coming and you're looking at this and you say, "Oh, these looks fun," and then you try to figure out what they actually do. Take the operations, for instance. The description is, this module is capable of deploying limpet types suitable for salvage and data recovery operations. How difficult would it have been to put the actual limpet controllers that you can use in there? If I go, for instance, to the mining one, it just say suitable for mining operations. So I would guess that would be mining and prospecting, but I don't know. And the same with rescue here, suitable for rescue operations. What is suitable for rescue? I would guess fuel and repair, but I believe these also have collectors in them, if I recall correctly. So like, this is, why wouldn't you put that in there? It's such a simple thing. There's nowhere in game you can see what these actually have before you go and buy it. Because what you have to do is you have to buy the module, go over here, go through your fire groups, scroll down to the bottom of this list here, and down here you will see Universal Limpet Controller or whatever other Multi-Limpet controller you have, and there you're able to see the list, but only after you buy the modules. Nowhere in game is that shown, which is super stupid. Why wouldn't you put that up front? However, the problems doesn't stop there, because initially when I looked at this, let's take this size 7 for instance, and let's just say that I wanted to go and I'm gonna have a look at this again. Okay, so we have the stats out here on the side, and we can see the power draw and the boot time and the max active limpets, which is 8, which is actually super good. Normally you only get 4 limpets on this size of controller, so that's awesome. And then we have limpet lifetime infinite, maximum speed 500 meters a second, and I'm like, what? And a range of 9 kilometers. And I'm sitting here thinking, whoa, wait a second, does that mean I can fire off a collector limpet with 9 kilometer range, infinite life, and a 500 meters a second speed? Now, usually collector limpet controllers fly, 200 meters a second, have a lifespan of up to 12.5 minutes, something like that. That would be insane, but no, that's not the case. Because what Frontier have done in their infinite wisdom here is they've just taken the limpet of all the different type that this can launch with the longest lifetime, and that's what they're displaying. And with the longest range, and that's what they're displaying. Or the fastest, and that's what they're displaying. This is, I have nowhere does this tell me what type of limpet this applies to. In fact, how it works is that the limpets coming out of a 7A multi-purpose limpet controller is the same as if it came out of a 7A collector or 7A prospector or 7A fuel transfer or whatever. It's just the fact that it's just taken these random stats and put up here that doesn't really help you at all. I can't see the stats for each individual limpets as they have individual stats. Okay, but bad information flow aside, let's take a look at these things. These have been primarily, I think, asked for by the exploration community. That means there's people who like to jump. Now, you might have noticed here, let's take the 7A here, for instance. That is a 140-ton module. That's a very heavy module. Now, if we go and compare that to, let's say, just a collector, right? Let's say you find a collector limpet controller. Here we have a 7A collector limpet controller, and we can see that is a 128-ton module. So they are slightly heavier. That's not too bad. I mean, you do get a lot of bang for your buck here. Twice the active limpets, multiple different types. You can also see here it uses a little bit more power than a normal collector limpet controller. So, okay, fair enough. You get double the limpets, you have a higher power draw, you have higher mass. That seems fairly balanced. Or, well, it would if it wasn't because that these multi-limpet controllers cannot be engineered. Because anyone that's half sensible who puts limpet controllers on their exploration ships is going to engineer them with lightweight. That takes off 80% of the mass. Now, instead, since these multi can't be collected, that means that not only are they going to be heavier by their base mass, but because they can't be engineered, they are effectively going to be between 5 or 6 times as heavy as a corresponding non-multi-limpet controller. 5 to 6 times. So even though you may want to fit multiple different types of limpets, maybe you want both collectors and fuel transfers and repairs and all of that is gonna be lighter to fit the non-multi-limpet variant and engineer them compared to fitting a multi-limpet. I know you use less internal slots, and that's really the only reason why you would fit these modules ever is if you're running out of internal slots. But the fact that they can't be engineered, I don't know. I guess it's a balancing thing, but it's just... these modules would have been good for explorers if they were engineerable, but because they're not engineerable, I would say in the majority of cases, unless you're really constrained on internal space, I would not recommend using them as it's going to give your jump range too much. What about mining then? Miners like to use a lot of limpet, right? And you would be right. And especially because now that we can have both a prospector and a limpet controller in one, we could potentially save up some internal space, get more collectors. That would be really cool, wouldn't it? Now, let's go and look at the mining limpet controllers. We have two. We have a 3E mining limpet controller, and we have a 3C mining limpet controller. Awesome. Okay, we got 4 active limpets, which is nice. Again, twice what we had before. The mass, yeah, they are heavier. Again, they can't be engineered, but on mining ships, you may not be as worried about it, especially not if we're talking these levels of mass here. And if you're mining out of a fleet carrier, you usually don't really care about your jump range anyway, because you're always going to be one jump away. So there could be situations here. But remember that I said that the limpet controllers, the limpets that fired out of these controllers are equivalent to the same limpets fired out of a corresponding non-multi-limpet controller. So that means firing a prospector out of this limpet controller here would be the same as firing a prospector out of a 3C limpet controller. Now, if you are an experienced miner, you will know that you should always fit A-rated limpet controllers. Why is that? Because the higher the rate, so the higher the letter number after, not the number, so A-rate for limpet controllers give a bonus to the number of fragments you get from a rock. If you fire no limpets on a rock, you get 10 fragments, and as you fire more and more fragments of higher quality limpet controllers, you get more and more fragments out of it. And fitting on a C limpet controller is going to mean that you'll have a significant reduction in the number of fragments you get out of a rock. Meaning that, sure, you're going to save up some internal space, you might be able to have more active limpets than you otherwise would if you're not using this module, but you're going to be getting less payout per rock, you're going to be spending more time running around looking for rocks, you're going to need mine more rocks in order to get the same amount of cargo, which is going to slow you down, and that slowdown from the reduction in payout is not worth it compared to the extra limpets. And that means the only situation you would ever use this mining limpet controller is to replace one of your existing ones just to get those 4 extra, and then just only use the collector limpet controller. So this is essentially just a buffed collector limpet controller that's going to give you 4 limpets instead of 2 that you would normally get on the slot. You might think, but what about the multi-purpose limpet controller? That is A-rated. That means a prospect out of that is in fact A-rated. And that means you do get the full amount out. And you're right. If it wasn't because the Frontier has done the implementation of these multi-limpet controllers completely backwards. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so I've taken a Type 9 out here into a belt. And let's do a little test. What we're going to do is just quickly make some firing groups here. Let's put the universal limpet controller, which we have on board. Let's put the collector into 1. Let's put the prospector into group 2. And then for good measures, and you'll see why in a second, I'm going to put a mining laser into group 2 as well. This might seem weird, but for the test here, it's going to make sense. Okay, now let's say that I've just finished mining a rock, and I would then obviously have all my collectors out. So let's say I have all 8 limpets out as collectors. And there we have them, all 8 nicely lined up in rows below us. So obviously if we've been mining, they would now be running around, they would be collecting, and I'm now done collecting, and I'm ready to move on to go and prospect the next rock. So let's say I want to prospect this rock, and we're gonna fire off our second group. You can see here that I'm deactivating my second fire group. This is why I put a laser on it, but notice no prospector limpets. Why not? Because I already have 8 limpets out for that controller. And that means they're not going to replace the existing limpets that's already with the controller. And that means all the mining limpet controllers, even if they were upgraded to A-rated, would still be useless, because if you fire off collectors with it, you cannot replace them with prospectors and vice versa. The only way I could replace these limpets, there are 2 ways I can do it. Method number 1 would be to go into my module, find my universal limpet controller, turn it off, turn it back on, wait for the online timer. That's gonna kill all my limpets now. And now I can go ahead and I can now fire off a prospector limpet like so. Now the other way you can get rid of them is, as you can see here, I just fired off 2, and that is to do a little belly rub. So we're gonna go up to an asteroid, and we're gonna fly in very low over the asteroid, and we're gonna purposely rub our belly across the asteroid until, there we go, the limpets hit the asteroid and we kill them. That's the way to do it as well. Obviously you take some damage to your shields. Neither are really good solutions. So for mining at least, the way you should use these multi-limpet controllers, remember you can only fit one of them at a time, is you fit one size 3 mining limpet controller and you just use it only as a collector and fit still a separate prospector, because, well, you don't want to use the multi-limpet controller as a prospector, as you're going to block up your own collectors using it, and it's just, yeah, you can't use it as a multi. So use it like an extra limpet controller that has 4 actives instead of 2, so you get 2 extra collectors in the same slot. The only place where it actually makes sense to use the universal one is on a Type 9, as we see here, and the reason it makes sense here is because, of course, the Type 9 has those 2 size 8 slots that's going to give us the 512 tons of cargo, and then still have a size 7 slot where we can fit that universal limpet controller. But again, on a mining Type 9, the way you're going to use it here is you're going to be using it solely as a collector, and then we're still going to have a separate prospector. Now you have to remember that the limpets that are being launched out of these multis are going to be worse if you fit the size 3, because, well, they're C-rated, and that means they're going to be poorer quality limpets that are going to come out of it, compared to if you fit a non-multi-purpose. Is it worth it? Yeah, I would probably still have 4 compared to 2 low-quality limpets rather than having 2 high-quality limpets. Overall, I think that might be a little faster, but in total, these modules, it seems like a quick decision, something Frontier maybe did because they know it's been requested for a long time and they want to try to win some goodwill back, so they threw something together quickly and didn't really take the time to properly test it and think about how they're going to be implemented into the game mechanics, which is a bit of a shame. So I really hope that Frontier's going to go back, look at these, and reconsider the way they've been implemented into the game, because these modules have a lot of potential, and they could be really good if they just got the care and attention that they need to actually work in a way that they make sense in game. But I guess that is true for a lot of different things in Elite. Thank you for sticking with me, even though this video has been a bit of a rant. If you have any opinions about this yourself, post them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you guys in space.